Liar, liar, pants on fire will be our title this morning. Evil will never completely be under our feet. Not in this life. Rest assured that the devil and the forces of evil are not at times just under our feet, but at times they are all around us, working evil exploits, destroying lives, damaging people. They are attempting to penetrate our lives, harass the peace of God in our hearts, and destroy our good relationship with God. And what I mean to say very clearly to each and every person in this room today is we will not entirely tread the devil or evil underfoot in this life. Christ himself could not completely avoid evil. He could not completely avoid the devil. Evil is always waiting for the opportunity in your life and my life. Evil is always waiting for opportunities to grasp in our moment of despair, difficulty, frustration, and or temptation. Evil looks for opportunities. In Luke chapter 4 and verse 13, it even says that, listen, and we're speaking of Christ here, that the devil left, and you know what he did? He was waiting for a more opportune time in his life. Evil in the life of a believer is definitely wounded. Do you hear me? But not incapacitated. And how do we know that? Revelation chapter 12 and verse 10 tells us that Satan, the devil, accuses the brethren, believers, day and night before God. So I'm not saying let's focus on evil or be overwhelmed by it. Our focus should be on Jesus. You don't get more life by focusing on evil. You got to get more Jesus. He's the life giver. He's the healer. He's the helper. He's the encourager. He's the strengthener. It's not about just getting the evil out. You got to get Jesus in. That's why a lot of us, I just want to be a better person. Just fixing all the personality quirks is not going to heal the problem. Jesus is the healer. You need God involved, friend. The reason we should be aware of evil, aware of the devil, and of the demonic is because they can have an impact on our lives. And knowing the source can provide a solution. In fact, it's insurmountable at times to me. It's overwhelming to me as a pastor. The biggest job that I have is convincing people that they are not as much of a lost cause as they've been led to believe they are. It's not always something within, staring at your navel, because it's not always something within. A lot of times, destruction is being created because we are listening to the voices without, rather than his voice within. We are listening to the voices of evil that are continually suggesting things to our hearts and minds. And to maintain quality of life, to gain freedom today, to get freedom and to keep freedom, and to have quality, victory, and power in your life, you're going to have to recognize how evil works. You're going to have to recognize evil's personality so that you'll know when it's him that shows up, who it is and what it is. John chapter 8 and verse number 44, you are of your father the devil, and the desires of your father you want to do. He was a murderer from the beginning and does not stand in truth, because there is no truth in him. When he speaks a lie, he speaks from his own resources, for he is a liar and the father of it, the author, the originator. someone wanting to live for God, someone wanting to do righteous, someone wanting to do right. How do you want to do right? I want to do right. What is doing something right? It's doing right according to God. Attempting to do right, to live for God, to do right things. All these things will be met with evil confrontation. Every right thing you do will be met with resistance. And that's the first thing you need to know about the personality of evil, is when you go to do a right thing, it's going to be met with resistance. It's going to be met with slander in your heart and your mind. It's going to be met with accusations. And you have to understand that about the enemy. See, you're going to think, I can't do this. That's not true. Because that struggle is not about some weakness within, it's about a resistance without. Because how many times do we start out and say, I'm going to do this, but all of a sudden we say, we can't do this? What have you come up against? You've come up against a resistance. And that resistance carries with it slander that begins to speak to your heart and mind. And what does it say repetitively? You can't do this. Because what does it want you to do? To go back and do what you were doing, which is destructive. Because it's not some weakness within you, it is a resistance without. It's not something you lack, it's something you need to push through. Some of you sit here today and you say, what's wrong with me? You need to push through. You need to quit focusing on what that feeble thing in you that keeps tripping you up might be, and you might recognize that what you need to do is lean forward, press against, and press through. Spiritually press through. Believe through it. Because it's not something within you. It's not a weakness within you. It is a resistance without. And friend, it's not about you. It's about what is against you. And you and Jesus can push through that thing today. Threads of our soul, the complexity of all those hanging shreds of a mess that, and we stare at them so long, it can become debilitating, can it? But it's not about those shreds in you. It's about Jesus in you. And by Christ's help, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Evil tries to convince you you lack the material to progress. You lack the material to move forward. And all the while, it wasn't you. It was the resistance, and you should have pushed through. And there's been previous times in your life that you have given up when you should have pushed through. You thought it was you, and it was something against you. It was a murderer from the beginning. See, it's not always within. Sometimes it's without. He is a liar. There is an adversary, and he's slandering some of your hearts today. Why? To keep you from progressing in Christ. To keep you from having a solid relationship with God.